Let's work more on this painting of Paul the Apostle praying, done in the Caravaggio tenebristic style. We're doing a grisaille, and I actually have the grisaille finished, and now I'm starting to put color on top. In fact, I've already put some colors on the face and the hands, but I'd like to do more of that and just kind of show you the process as I work. And I hope it encourages you and gives you ideas of what you can do in your own portrait painting. Before we begin, I'd like to give you a free gift. A lot of artists struggle with getting realistic tonal value. That's the difference between lights and darks and all the little shades in between. And I'd like to give you a free guide that you can print off, and it'll help you to get more accurate values. It's called my value checker tool. So you can get that in the description below. Also in the top comment. It's absolutely free. Just go ahead and click that link. You'll be able to download it right away, print it off, set it up next to your canvas, and it'll help you measure your values against what you have in your reference photo so you can increase the realism in your portrait and really enjoy what you create. All right, so it's my gift to you just for watching today. Go ahead and download that and enjoy. All right, so now let's get started in the process. I have some raw umber dark and ultramarine blue on my palette, and we'll take a little bit of alizarin crimson. Now, before we apply that to the canvas, I want to show you what's going on. So previously, I added some warmer tints to his face using some burnt sienna, pyro orange mixed with a little raw umber dark, and just a bit of titanium white to help it to apply more smoothly. Also did the same thing to his hands, and notice the warmer color we have right here. That's really important because that's adding some richness and some depth, and it's showing that reflected light from his other knuckle being cast onto that one there. Now, what I want to do here mostly in this video is just add some additional shading. So again, I'm going to darken this area up with this ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, and raw umber dark. I'm just making a nice rich black here. And we'll go ahead and we'll apply that in a few key areas. I'm going to actually place that right in the back of his head, and we might actually need to blend this in with a larger brush too. So let's do that. So I want to make sure that we've got everything here quite dark. Just sort of imagining that he's in a really dark prison here. So we're just going to really get everything quite dark. And I just wonder though if maybe there's a little bit of light behind his head. We just maybe imagine just a little light and he's casting a shadow or something. So I'm just going to put that in there. But we're going to create a little bit of a thicker application here, spread this out, and again we're going for really nice dark contrast so that this can stand out. And that's important when doing this kind of painting. We're really wanting there to be a lot of contrast. Okay, then we'll blend this out as we get towards the window, and then we're going to add a little bit of burnt sienna for that, mixed with a bit of raw sienna. And then we'll just bring that out a little closer to the window and blend that. And so it can get a little bit lighter in there. Add some raw sienna and just a little bit of ultramarine blue, which kind of tones down the oranginess of it. But then we add just a bit of alizarin crimson as well, and that keeps it from getting too green. Okay, then add to that just a little titanium white, and that kind of reduces the chromatic intensity while lightening it up all at the same time, which is what we want to do. So we're just creating a little bit of a lighter area here to the right of his face. All right, that's good. Now, we'll want to get a little bit darker as we get toward the shadowed area down here. We'll just imagine we're having a little bit of a cast shadow. All right, get a little more ombre dark in there. And just a bit more ultramarine blue. And then we're creating a shadow just below his arm. We imagine that that would cast a shadow, and his arm itself is casting a little bit of a shadow on the wall, and we just kind of blend that into everything else. Okay, we bring this out, just blend it a little bit into everything else. All right, a little bit of shading. Just cut this around the top of that table, and we just want to blend it into what we've already applied here. Do a little bit of wet on wet blending here. Get it maybe just a little bit darker on this side right here. Okay. And then let's get a really nice dark glaze down at the bottom. Just add that in. We've got some nice cool tones here with this ultramarine blue and raw umber dark. And just really blend that in. Give it some vigorous brushwork. Kind of going in different directions. Yeah, we just really want to intensify that contrast. All right, that's good. Now with that, let's go ahead and work some of this into the rest of the face. So we'll take some of these darker tints. Now let's just imagine we have a little bit of contrast on his hair, and we're going to apply some of that contrast and just kind of blend that in. And we want to establish a little bit of more structure on his face. Now, we'll need to block in a little bit of shading as we're turning the form out of this dark part of the hair into the lighter part of the hair. We use a little bit of titanium white, mix that in with our umber dark, and establish a bit of shading in that way. And we'll bring a little more light into the rest of this. We'll get some texture of the hair going into the skin. All right. Add a little bit of a warmer tint to the hair. We use some raw sienna and burnt sienna for that, and we'll just add that to the top here. Just imagine it's receiving a little more of the light. And then just suggest some of the texture of the beard. Now, as we work into the face, I'd like to add a little bit of a darker value just to the left of that mustache to show some of the shadow that it probably is casting on some other areas. Do a little more work on the eyebrows. And let's take some burnt sienna. And just imagine we have a little bit of color right underneath the eyebrows. You get just a little bit of a darker color right by that upper eyelid fold on the eye. That's important. And then to show this dark area of the tear duct right there. And we'll want to lighten the area by the eyelid. So take some Pyro Orange and Indian Yellow and some Matte Medium. And we'll just lighten this area up a little bit right here. A little more of some titanium white with that. And we just want to suggest some of the different coloring. Let's add a little bit of naphthalene red to it, just to darken it a bit. Bring that in, just kind of warm it up. All right, that's good. Now let's go ahead and add a little of this Pyro Orange and Indian Yellow to his nose. And we just want to make sure that nose is long enough. Just get a few of those nuances portrayed with some Pyro Orange and burnt sienna. Bit of titanium white, and let's add just a bit of raw umber dark as well. Okay, I'll add a little more raw umber dark to this and just kind of blend this all out. Okay, I just want to darken a little bit under his nostril. And let's bring out a little shading on that right hand side. Zoom in just a bit. Just want to change the shape of his nose a little bit because I modeled for this, and I always like it if it can look a little different than me. You know, especially since I'm Caucasian and I'm sure he was Jewish. Oh, well, we know he was Jewish, so he probably had a little bit of a different look than what I have. Okay, so bring a little shading up in there. We're just kind of changing the structure of the face a little bit. We'll add a little bit of a lighter glaze right here on his chin. And maybe go just a little bit lighter yet. Alright, I'll have to lighten that up a little more, so it's going to take a couple more glazes to achieve that. And we'll do that in some future glazes. But now let's go ahead and do a little work on the hands. We'll scoot down there. We just want to make sure we're getting everything kind of working together at the same time. So if I've added some reddish tints and some darker values blending out of the larger shadows into the midtones of the face, I want to do the same thing on the hands. So we'll zoom in there and let's go ahead and add some nuances. Let's pull in some darker values first. So again, we want to get our darkest values. And notice on my palette, the range, I've got cool dark tones going to kind of warmer, lighter tones on the top. All the way even to these lighter areas here. And I do that on purpose. That way I can kind of pull from whatever I need at any given time and just kind of reuse those colors. So now we're adding these darkest tones kind of in the interior of the hands and just getting some shadows within those midtones. I'll zoom in even a little closer so you really can see what's going on. And yeah, just really developing those darkest shadows within these spaces. And again, that adds more realism. So I just got done doing kind of a semi-opaque mid-tone on top to smooth things out a little, but it is important to get these darkest values dialed in. So we're seeing some of the separation between the fingers and the rest of the hand. Some of the structure. So we have some dark values here. Edge of the finger a little bit darker, and then there's some reflected lights. We have a little bit darker, and that's important. You want to get those darkest shadows close to where it turns to the light, and then a little lighter on the bottom. How much that is like our life, isn't it? That oftentimes it has to get dark before it gets lighter. We have to go through times of suffering before we experience a blessing. I found that to be true in my life, where I've cried out to God to answer prayer, to bring healing, to bring provision, and often things have had to get almost their worst before they could get better. We wish it weren't that way, but that really causes us to just seek God all the more when we know, boy, everything's at stake and it looks like we couldn't go down any deeper. We know we need help, and we lift that arm for help, and then God does come to our rescue. It's amazing how that works. So all that to kind of mention here how the darkest areas are right up next to the light. So we've got a little bit lighter on the bottom of that finger, bit of reflected light, but then darker towards the highlight on the top. And the colors will shift. They'll get a little warmer as they get closer to that light. So that's important too, that you include those warmer tones as you get closer. Now, here we got these two knuckles. I don't want to darken them too much because they're receiving a lot of reflected light from the other knuckles that are illuminated. So we don't want to darken those too much. And that's, again, important for really capturing the realism. Get this shadow darkened just a bit. That's good. Again, darken that area of the hand. All right, and let's just zoom down here a bit. Darken that a little bit there. That's good. And we can blend some of this out into the rest of the sleeve. So there'll be a lot of shading we'll need to do to really capture this, but I want to set it up here set it up for success. Let's bring a warmer tint on the left side, and we'll add some alizarin crimson. And with that raw umber dark kind of cool glaze, we'll just introduce that over to the left, and just imagine we've got some slightly warmer skin tones there. Maybe add just a bit of burnt sienna to it, warm it up a little more. Alright, and then we'll blend that right in with some alizarin crimson into this darker color. Yeah, we do need a little burnt sienna with that. Yep, just want it to get a little bit warmer in tone. Alright, that's good. And let's see where we're at. So I think I'm going to stop off right here. We have a lot of work yet to do, but I just wanted to show you part of the process here of transitioning out of these darkest shadows into the midtones, adding the color to your grisaille using that chiaroscuro tenebristic technique. We're trying to create a lot of drama in the image, and I like how this is progressing. I thank God for that. I've got a lot of work yet to do, but I hope you've enjoyed the process so far, and we'll be adding more to this, so stay tuned. All right, well, thank you for watching. Be sure to get your value checker tool below. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share this video with a friend, and thank you so much for watching. Leave me a comment. Let me know how you like this video, and if you have any questions about this acrylic glazing technique, be sure to ask, because that's the only way you're going to have your questions answered. All right, thank you so much for watching. God bless, and we'll talk to you soon.